Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to Life Enhancement and Development Live. I'm Dr. Cresandra Washington. And this evening, I want to talk to you about prospering, positioning yourself to prosper. And so I want you to come on in and let's engage and let's talk about what it means to prosper and strategies and tools that we can use to prosper in this life, to prosper and live the abundant life that we were created to live and that we were designed and promised. You can live a wonderful life here on this earth. If you are not seeing the results that you want, and if you are not experiencing the quality of life that you desire, it could be that you're just not thinking and focusing and renewing your mind and pursuing things in the right way that God intended for us to. Sometimes we think it's other people, or we think that it's something that somebody is withholding from us. If I can just have a little more money, if I can have more money, if I can make more money on my job, if I could, meet the right people, all of those things are important. But many times those things are not the things that's keeping us from prospering in life. Many times it's us. We're holding ourselves back. It's the way that we think. And so sometimes we think we have a money problem, we have a relationship problem, but many times it's something deeper. We have a mind problem. And so I want to talk to you tonight, just share some things, some strategies of how you can position yourself to prosper. While we're here on having this earthly experience, we're going to deal with challenges in life. We're going to deal with things in life, but we still have to experience life. That's just the way that it is. But we experience conflict and we experience challenges in so many ways. Conflicts and challenges within ourselves, conflicts and challenges all around us, conflict and challenges within our communities, because you have various cultures. You have people who have different ideas and beliefs and different ways of doing things. You meet people with different personalities. And so we have to know how to deal with all kinds of people, and we have to know how to live and respond and act and behave and make decisions in this life that will cause us to yet prosper and experience the best quality of life that we can have. And so I want to share some strategies, that we could use to activate prosperity in our lives, some principles that we can use. And, I want to talk about aligning yourself with the true elements for success. To align yourself means to get in the right order. To get in the right order, you may be skewed. Your thinking may be skewed. Your decisions, the things that you have been doing so far in life has caused you not to be aligned with the right things to see the good results and the effective results that you want to see in your life. And so you have to align yourself with the principles and the true antidotes that will give you the good success. And by good success, my saying good success implies that all success, all advancement, all the, may not be good. Sometimes we see people having a lot of things and in high positions and have money and being in the right room, in the right place, in all these places. And we think that they got there, that they have good success, but sometimes we don't know how people get into those places. Sometimes people get into those places doing the wrong things. And so we want to have good success. We want to have good success. But there are strategies and tools for you to prosper and advance in life the right way, in a good way, so that you will have peace, so that your spirit and your mind will not be disturbed. And in those principles, we have to be consistent. And so when we're talking about positioning ourselves to prosper and prosperity, we're talking about the right way, and we're really focusing on the mind tonight. The right way to think, the right way to believe, the right way to respond. Sometimes we have to deprogram ourselves, our minds, the way we think, the way we believe, and then reprogram ourselves with the right beliefs, with the right perspectives, the right way of doing, the right way of seeing things. And so that many times that's where the conflict arises, because sometimes in our environment, the way we grew up, we may have been taught about things the different way. I know a lot of times, growing up, we've been taught the wrong way about money. We have been taught the wrong way about relationships, and we've seen the wrong way to be in relationships. We've seen the wrong way to handle conflict. I remember a lady saying that they were taught when there was conflict, you fight, and you fight to kill. And that's literally what they practice. They practice, when you got into a disagreement with one of them, your life was on the line, because they have been taught to kill, and they have been trained by their parents that this is how you resolve conflict. So they grew up that way. And until they saw a different way and heard a different way, that's what they practice. And so this happens in all our lives. Some things that we've seen, the way that we've been taught, the way that we've seen engagement between our family members. And I want to say, to me, family is one of the main ways, one of the major ways we learn how to deal with other people and how to deal with problems and issues. And so we grow up thinking that these ways are right. But then when we encounter other people and other cultures and other beliefs, we see people do things differently. And for me, growing up in a spiritual home, in a home where godly principles were taught, we learned the godly way to do things, to live our lives. But when I got older and began to deal with other people and interact with other people, I saw that everybody hadn't been taught and raised and trained the way that I was. And so many times conflict arose between me and these people because we saw things differently. And as I grew, I had to learn to respect that this is the way that this person sees things, and this is the way this person acts, and or chooses to deal with situations. Because I'm gonna tell you, life happens to us all. We all have problems. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good you have it now. I don't care what you say. There, you have some problems, and you've had some issues that you have had to deal with, and some conflict and challenges that you've had to walk through. And so I want to talk about that tonight, some strategies and tools that we can use in order to prosper. And I'm not just talking about money. As Niagara mentioned, peace. Peace means a lot. Peace means that you have nothing missing, nothing lacking, and nothing broken in your life. And that doesn't mean you don't have any challenges. It just means that you know how to live and operate in peace, so that when you do have trouble, or when you do have problems and issues, you still can effectively walk through those things in a good way, or in a bring forth a solution that brings forth the desired results that you want. And so I want to share this little diagram, this diagram that I came up with when I was thinking about this. Okay, in this diagram, I want you to, and it's called Strategies for Proper Alignment. How do we go about aligning ourselves with the true elements and true strategies that's going to bring us into the prosperity and the desired results that we want in our life? And I call this Strategies for Proper Alignment. And in this triangle, the way that I see it, in the center, this is, at the top of the triangle represents the mind, where we make our decisions and where we have our intellect. And then this side of the triangle is where we have our soul, our emotions, our will, our desires. And this side of the triangle represents our body, the actions, how we actually carry out our decisions and the things that we do. And all of these things, how we use the principles to guide our mind, our emotions, and our actions, determines whether or not we're going to be prosperous and have good success. And so I start with the mind. To me, the mind is where you have to start. You have to renew your mind. And let's talk about what principles. Now, I tell you all the time, life enhancement and development, when you listen to me, I'm going to be talking about godly principles. That's what I know. That's what I've lived on all of my adult life. That's what I was taught. And I have found godly principles to work effectively and work well in my life. And so it's the principles, godly principles, that I'm talking about, the laws of God, the principles of God, the ways of God, that he tells us that if we do these things, if we do it his way, we're going to have good success. We're going to prosper and have good success. So you first have to know what these principles are. And we find out what his principles are by studying what he says, his word, his laws. And so you have to know these principles. And with these principles, you have to renew your mind. You have to renew your mind with these principles. And I'm coming from, I'm thinking about when Joshua was getting ready to take this position of leadership that he had been given, and he was encouraged by God to get his principles, his laws. And so he was saying, study them, know them, meditate on them consistently. When he told him to meditate on them day and night, he was saying, be consistent in studying these laws and these principles, and be consistent in speaking them out. And why is it that we have to speak them out? Because, when we begin to renew our mind, our desires and emotions, sometimes there comes a conflict between what we know what we know and the way we feel about things. And so you have to say these things out loud, and some people call them affirmations. You have to say them out loud to get your mind, to get your emotions, and to get the way you feel and your desires to come in alignment, or to come into under subjection to what you know is right. And that's where the conflict arises. Because, we want to do what we feel. Good evening, Doretha. Sometimes we don't want to do what we know to do, or what we know to the right thing to do. But we want to go by, we let our emotions sometimes override and overrule what we know to be right and what we know to do. So there are times when you have to literally speak out of your mouth what is right, the right principles, so that you can bring your emotions under control. When we talk about emotions, we're talking about anger, we're talking about fear, we're talking about the fight or flight feeling. We're talking about defense mechanisms, because sometimes when things happen, conflict arise, we sometimes deflect or we project the way we feel on others, and all of that sometimes is to keep from dealing with ourselves. And so it's when we know the principles and when we know these laws, we got to first renew our mind. Put them in your mind, study them. Study them, know what it says, know what these principles are, and know what they say, and then meditate on them. Say them over and over. Sit down, get in a quiet place, and think about what these principles are, what they are, and what they mean. And then say them consistently. And you have to say them consistently because some situations are going to arise where you're going to have to speak these things out of your mouth. No, I'm not going to use profanity, or I'm not going to fight to deal with this situation. I'm going to step back, and I'm going to be quiet. Or I'm going to wait until the person is in a better frame of mind so that we can talk about it. No, I'm not going to go out and go on a shopping spree because I'm upset, or I got a problem and I'm trying to figure it out, instead of sitting down and strategically finding out some strategies that you can use to solve the problem. I know a lot of times I have a friend who says, and I find this to be true for myself sometimes, when I have a problem or a situation and I'm trying to figure it out, I get snacks. I go to the refrigerator and I get food and I sit around and trying to think. But then that's when I have to go back to the principles and laws that I know that work. And that is to pray and to meditate and to speak what God says about that situation. And so you have to be consistent in this. You have to be consistent in this. And this is why I believe God told Joshua, you got to do it day and night. You got to be consistent with these and knowing these principles and studying them and speaking them out of your mouth. He said, do not let them depart out of your mouth. So that means do not cease in saying what I say. Do not stop saying what I say, no matter what. Don't quit. Don't go against what I say, but consistently say and think and study and apply what I say. And then he said, you do them consistently. When you do them consistently, then you're going to make your way prosperous. You're going to make your way prosperous, and you're going to have good success. And he told him, he said, now you got to observe to do these things. And when he said observe to do it, he said, he was saying, you're going to have to put in an effort, be intentional about keeping my laws, my principles. You're going to be have to be intentional about doing things the way that I say do them. And he says, when you be consistent in doing things the way that I say do them, then you're going to be effective in your life journey. You're going to make your way prosperous. You're going to be successful in what you do. Your life, you're going to have a good quality of life, and you're going to see yourself doing exploits, great exploits. And, you know, in the life of Joshua, in the life of Joshua, he had challenges in his leadership, but he used those principles in his life. He used those principles in his home. He used those principles in his leadership. He used those principles in dealing with his community. And so it's the same way with us. We have to rely on God's principles and use them in every area of our lives. That's what it takes, and that's what we're going to have to do. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do. In order for you to realize, and in order for you to have position yourself for prosperity, or position yourself to be prosperous, you have to be willing to renew your mind to these principles. And that's the strategy. The strategy is to get these principles, to get the principles, whatever area of life. Because see, God's laws and God's ways apply to every area of our lives, every area. And of course, I'm not saying anything deep. And if you all thought I was getting ready to say something deep, I'm not saying anything deep. A lot of what I'm saying is repetitive things that you've heard before, but we need to hear it over and over and over again until it gets in our minds. We need to hear it over and over again. We need to say these things over and over again, because in order to have the life you want, you're going to have to do something. You're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to do something different, and that takes effort on your part. That takes effort on your part. Nobody else can do it for you. Nobody else can be diligent for you. You're going to have to do these things for yourself if you want to improve the quality of life here on earth. If you want to see that abundance that has been promised to us. And so when in making your way prosperous, you will begin to advance in life. If you exercise these principles, if you renew your mind with these principles, start thinking a different way. Change the way you think, your perspective, your attitude. What do we mean by attitude? Your perspective, your viewpoint, the way that you view things. Start changing it. Use these principles to change the way you think. And when you use these principles to change the way you think, any wrong beliefs that you have, and we talk a lot about money, but we need to renew our mind to the way that he tells us about money, how we use money to be a good steward of money, controlling our thoughts and our tongue. That's a good one, Doretha. And so what are the principles that we can use when it comes to controlling our tongue? So we are to speak life. We are to speak life with our tongue. You all can respond in the chat with some strategies, some principles when it comes to controlling your tongue. You are to speak life. There's a principle, there's a scripture in the Bible that says bitter and sweet water shouldn't come out of the same fountain. Because you bless God with one, we bless God with our mouths, but we curse our brothers at the same time. That should not be. That should not be. So we are supposed to not let evil things come out of our mouth. We are not to gossip with our mouths. Because why? Why are those principles important? Those things are important because when you gossip and when you say hurtful things, then you say negative things and evil things of your brother, you hurt your brother. That's a good one too, Era. Be slow to speak. So why, Era, are we to be slow to speak? What would that bring in our lives? What kind of results will we have in our lives when we take time to think about what we're going to say? Why is that important? Teresa, why is it important to have affirmations? That's good. And Teresa, give us an example of an affirmation that we can say to help renew our mind in a certain area. Choose the area that we need, where our mind needs to be renewed, and give us an example of an affirmation that we can say where we can start renewing our mind and change the way we think. Ira says, be slow to speak. And it's good to be slow to speak. It's not good to pop off at the mouth or be ready to say something as soon as you hear something that's that you do not agree with. Yes, Dorifa, stop, think, and then speak. And that is important because you don't want to say anything that's going to demean. You don't want to say anything that's going to tear a person down. But even if you're going to give constructive criticism, you want to say something that the person can use to be built up. You don't want. That's right. Awesome, Ira. Yes, you don't want to say things that you'll regret later. So you can say, if you take your time to think about what you're going to say, you can say something that's seasoned with grace, or say something that's going to be edifying to the person, even if it's constructive criticism. That's going to be edifying to the person that will empower them and benefit them. All right, Teresa, we're giving you a few minutes for you to go to your list. Jamie says, think before you speak. Don't be so quick to react. Yes, because you can react in the wrong way. And sometimes before we take the time to think and we react before we think, it's not even what we're thinking. We have the wrong understanding. So sometimes it's best to just wait and be quiet, be slow to speak, be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Don't be so quick to get upset and let your emotions rule you and you fly all off the handle. This will improve your quality of life. This will improve your relationship with other people. Teresa has here, everything I touch will prosper and succeed. That's right. Affirmations. And if you say that every day, if you say that when the thought comes to your mind that nobody loves me, or I can't do anything right, or nothing good would ever happen for me, you can say this: everything I touch will prosper and succeed. You can say that and begin to renew your mind, deprogram your mind from those negative thoughts, and reprogram your mind with good thoughts, things that will break down those negative thoughts. Reprogram your mind with good affirmations, things that will break down that negative chatter. And so that is a great affirmation, Teresa. I love that affirmation. And so we have to, come on, you all, you can tell me to another area where our mind needs to be renewed. Something else that another area where our mind needs to be renewed, and we can use this strategy to renew our mind in this area. Now, I know a lot of something that we talk about all the time. We talk about health. Okay, we'll have and utilize wisdom and discernment in all things. The prosperity in my future is greater than my past. I will have generational favor and blessings. I love that. Now, don't you know, saying that she's going to see the manifestation of that in her life is going to improve. The quality of life is going to improve, because guess what? Her saying that is renewing her thinking, and she's going to begin to act that way. Her actions, if she's already doing that, her actions and the things that she does, and the way she pursues things, and the way that she handles opportunities are going to reflect what she's saying, because it's her mind is being renewed with these principles and with these words. And so when we renew our mind, and when we begin to allow our minds to be transformed, deprogramming our mind and reprogramming our mind with good things, our life will begin to transform, and we begin to see ourselves advancing, developing, growing, getting more wisdom, being profitable in what we do, what we put our hands to, whatever we go out to do, and we will begin to experience a good quality of life. Doretha says, stop focusing on my afflictions. I'm already healed. So when you begin to say those things when it comes to your body being healthy, and you're in being sick, then you begin to renew your mind and stop focusing on the sickness in your body, but rather focusing on the health that you are experiencing, that you want to experience for your body. One of my affirmations, Doretha, is that I'm wealthy spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, and emotionally. You know, wealth is not just money. Wealth is that you're prospering in every area of your life. And that's right, Ira. We have to renew the mind. That is the key. We have to renew the mind, but we have to renew the mind with what? We have to renew the mind with the right things, the right principles. And that's how you position yourself to prosper. That's how you position yourself to prosper. That was the antidote that God gave Joshua. He told him, if you want to be prosperous in your life, if you want to have good success, if you want to advance, if you want to see profitability in your life, if you want to have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, if you want to experience abundance in your life, then you think about, you study what I say. You study the way that I say do things. You study my laws and my principles, and you consistently say them out of your mouth. You observe to do them, and you consistently do it. You do day, and to me, that's what day and night means. That you consistently speak them out of your mouth. You consistently keep them and do them. And he says you're going to make your way, your journey as a leader, your journey in life, your journey is going to be wonderful. You're going to have success. You're going to be transformed. As Ira says, your life is going to be transformed. You'll no longer be as what people saw you 10 years ago or 5 years ago. You will grow, you will develop. And over the past 2 years, these are the things that we have been talking about. We've been talking about how you have to renew your mind and how you have to change your thinking so your life will be transformed, and so that you will be empowered to see the quality of life that you want and have the results that you want. And it takes the effort of renewing your mind. You know, all of these things, we're not telling you something that, just to be talking. We're actually living it. We're living these things, and that's why I can tell you that they work, that they do work. You have to renew your mind. You cannot go anywhere. You only go where your mind takes you. And if your mind is filled with negative thoughts, negative beliefs about yourself, negative values, that's what's going to show up in your life. Those are the kind of results that you're going to see in your life. And so we want to encourage you to position yourself to prosper. Position yourself to prosper. And only you can do that. All we can do is encourage you. All we can do is share with you what we know works. But it's going to be up to you to actually do it. And that's many times the disconnect through this. I was just showing you this diagram. Many times this is the disconnect between the mind and where we start here and where we get over here were the actions. We let our emotions and we let conflicts and things stop us from taking action. We let fear stop us from taking action. We let how somebody else's opinion of us and view of us stop us from taking action, doing what we know we need to do. Because sometimes we have the principles. We know what they are, but we're stuck. We're stuck right here. But we have to allow ourselves to become unstuck by making a decision. You have to make a decision. You have to make the decision that I no longer want to be here. I no longer want to be stuck. I no longer want to live beneath the privilege and the life that I know that I can have. And can nobody do it but you? I don't care how much I want it for you. You have to want it badly. You have to want it so much for yourself. The best is yet to come. And as I said last week, it doesn't matter how old you are. I don't care what your age is. The best is yet to come if you begin to do just what God told Joshua. Do not let these principles and these laws depart out of your mouth. And you know, when I read that, I said, that's awesome. He said, don't let them depart out of your mouth. That means don't you stop saying them. You speak them. You speak them. He even told them one time, he said, you write them on your doorpost. You put them up in your house. You know, we often talk about, you know, putting affirmations. Some of these affirmations, like Teresa was saying earlier, put them on Post-it notes. Put them in a place where you can see them every day. My vision board, I have it on my phone where I look at it all through the day. Every time I pull my phone up, I'm looking at my vision board. I have things written down. And it becomes when you really put it before yourself like that every day, those principles, those laws, you begin to act upon them, because that's the first thing that will come to your mind. But you have to program your mind that way. You have to reprogram your mind that way. And that's what you have to do. You have to study. You have to meditate. You have to do that. Nobody else is going to do that for you. You have to observe to keep them. You have to observe them. You have to keep them. You have to do them. So just knowing them, having them written down and knowing them is not the only thing that you have to do. You have to actually say them. You have to actually say them consistently, do them consistently. We get stuck sometimes because we know what we're supposed to do, but then we get so focused on how we're going to get way over here. Well, the way you get way over there is you start today doing one thing today, or doing the first thing right now. And you keep you do the first thing, and then you do the next thing. And then you start over tomorrow doing the next thing. Start each day at a time, take one day at a time. And you will begin to see yourself being transformed, changing. But you have to start, you have to make the decision to start. And so we have to align ourselves. If you're out of line, if your life is not where you want it to be, and problems and situations happen to us all. You know, we want to say, this person walked out of my life, or I got divorced and my husband left me with no money and no children, with these children and no money. I've seen people come back from, having to do it all by themselves. You know, my mother was a single parent, 5 children, young children at home. But my mother she did it. She made it. And I saw the resilience, and that's what we need to understand too, especially we have children. But even if you don't have children, somebody's watching you. Somebody's watching you to see how you're going to handle the situation. And so a lot of times we let things that happen to us in life cause us not to move forward, you know, to be stuck, and use that as an excuse. Yes, some of you may have, your husband may have died, or something tragic may have happened in your life that has caused you a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. And we're not saying don't work through the grief, because everybody don't grieve the same. But you got to move. You have to move through life. You have to move, because it happens to us all. If you live on this earth, you're going to experience death in your life at some point. You're going to experience somebody being sick, or you being sick, or something happening in your life at some point. But the wonderful thing about it is that we have principles and laws that teach us how to respond in these situations, and to effectively move through them and triumph over them and have a wonderful life. You know, these challenges in life comes to help us be a better person. A lot of things that I've experienced in life, at the time it didn't feel good, but it made me a better person. I learned from them. I gained wisdom, and I used those opportunities, or those things that I've gone through, to help other people. And there's some people I've been able to help that, you know, prevented them from having to walk through what I walked through, because I shared that wisdom and knowledge with them. And so, we have to we have to have the right perspective about things. And don't get defensive. Don't get defensive when someone tries to tell you or share wisdom with you. Don't get defensive. Don't deflect, and don't project on somebody else. Well, so and so doing this and doing that. We're not talking about them. We're talking about you. And and that, to me, that's a sign of not wanting to take responsibility. To not want to take responsibility and not wanting to grow. But when you want to take responsibility, when you want to grow, you will begin to examine yourself and say, okay, in this area, for me to be better, this is what I'm going to have to do. And I'm going to tell you, the natural person does not feel like it. But that's why you got to be led with your mind and not your emotions and your body. On that note, you all have a good night. Be blessed. Continue blessings and prosperity to you all. Good night.